Welcome in. This is Legal Access brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Every week we get together to talk about different aspects of the law. Today we're going to be talking about real estate law. So if you have any questions about what a real estate lawyer can do for you or what they do for you, give us a call here today. The phone number is on your screen, 843-848-8080. Here on the panel today to answer your questions. First of all, from the McGuire Law Firm is Ian McGuire.
Good to see you, Dave.
We know that you'll be answering all the real estate questions here today. And
Thank
to your
you.
left, also want to welcome back to Juliet Casper.
Thank you.
And on the end of the table, for no particular reason, Dennis DiSabato.
I chose this seat.
It's great to have you both. And Dennis, you've been on the show a number of times, and you're with Blair, Cato, Pickens, and Casterline, is that right? And you talk about your firm, but it's a big firm that does real estate.
Yeah, we do. We have offices throughout the whole state. I run the Myrtle Beach practice, and we do primarily real estate. We do have a small division of litigation attorneys and a small division of estate planning and probate attorneys, but our primary focus in our practice is real estate transactional work.
And Dennis also does a great job on county council for District 3, and we're just appreciate all you do for our community, and
Thank
it's great
you.
to have you here.
Appreciate
and of
that.
court, Juliet, this special day, and this is what a trooper Juliet has. She's been on our show a number of times and does a great job. She was Casper and Roy in North Myrtle Beach, but they really do both real estate and estate planning throughout South Carolina, but primarily on the Grand Strand. But it's her birthday today, so happy birthday, Juliet!
Happy birthday.
And what a trooper to come on the show today and allow us to celebrate with
goodness.
you. So we got you a cake for your birthday.
Wow,
And we're not
how
going to sing
nice.
and
Wow, that's
embarrass
really
you
nice.
anymore.
Thank
But happy
you.
birthday, and really thank you so much for being here today on your birthday, and it's great to get the opportunity to celebrate on the show with you.
That's great.
you.
Dave, real estate is always a popular topic, and gosh knows that right now, as the two of you will be telling us, it's really rocking and rolling in this area, is it not? So it's a great time to, if you have any questions regarding real estate, give us a call at 843-848-8080. That's 843-848-8080. We have two fantastic attorneys today to talk to us about that, right, Dave?
Yeah, I was going to bring party hats and noisemakers and things like that, but I didn't know how that'd go on TV. So,
Well,
But happy
TV is a
birthday.
great place to start your birthday. I am supposed to tell the lovely ladies at LabCorp at Seacoast, who I saw this morning for the blood work, because when you're a year older, you got to get that physical, and they did a great job and said, we're going to tune in.
Well, yeah, that's smart to get that done. And a shout out to Croissants is where we got our
yeah,
cake. And
excellent.
they're a great local establishment, does a great job. So I guess, if you have any questions regarding real estate, call us at 843-848-8080. And if you have a question on estate planning, I know Juliet can answer that as well. But primarily, we're going to talk about real estate today, Dave.
and obviously, as far as real estate is concerned, it's kind of a mixed bag nationally. And a year ago, you couldn't put a house on the market for a day and it'd be gone. Things have slowed down a little bit, but how are things, as Ian said, along the Grand Strand? Are we still kind of rocking and rolling?
We were talking about this a little bit before the show started today. It's kind of been an up and down market. We've noticed that we had busy months in January and March, but for some reason February and April feel like they dipped a little bit. I think while it hasn't taken a dive, but it's certainly not growing to the extent that it was in the early 2020s, like 21, 22,
Right.
23, it was booming. It's sort of plateaued right now. Interest rates are affecting the volume because I think there's a lot of people who would be buying that are sitting on the sidelines, and part of the reason why they're sitting on the sidelines is they don't want to sell their house because their interest rate might be at like 3.2 right now, and they don't want to get into a new home for 6.25.
Right.
And so, buyers who may be even looking at investment properties are looking at the interest rates and saying, we don't think it's a wise investment right now. So there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines right now. What I would tell those people, and what I think most mortgage lenders and realtors would tell those people, there's a phrase in our industry called, marry the home, date the rate, right?
Yep.
So if you like the house, if you love the house, go get it. Refinance that interest rate when it comes down. They will come down, and they were coming down until recent events
Right.
in the world
Yeah.
transpired to make that not happen anymore.
Our phone
That's
lines are open.
good
You can see
advice.
the phone number on the screen, 843-848-8080. Let's go to Myrtle Beach right now. Lene is on the line already. Thanks for calling in early, Lene. What's your question for the panel?
Well, I'm trying to make it short, but my mother's house sold in November, and there were 6 people on the deed. My mother was supposed to get half of the proceeds. The other 5 stepsons were supposed to get the other half. The closing firm here, the closing legal firm here, made a mistake and gave them, they split it into 6 parts. And so basically, my mother was only given $50,000 for her house that she owned for 30 years. The firm that made the mistake is now trying to get the correct funds back from the stepsons, and they're not being cooperative. We did get funds back from one of the stepsons, but my question is, now I'm finding that, because my mother died in December, now that I'm finding that the checks that are coming back, I can't do anything with them because I don't have a trust. And so, you know, the attorneys I've talked to have quoted me $3,000 to $5,000 for a trust, which I just find crazy, because I moved all of her funds into the bank account, which I had full access to, and now I have to spend several $1,000s just for this one purpose.
Well,
Can you advise me
That's
on that?
interesting.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, Lene, it sounds like what you really need is to have the estate opened with the probate court. If your mom passed away, it's too late to deal with a trust. We need to open up a case in probate for her, and you could seek to be appointed as the personal representative. And as the personal representative, you could seek to recover the funds that should have gone to her when the house sold.
Yeah. And to speak to the first part of your question with regard to the deed issue, I'd really love to take a look, or an attorney should take a look at how the deed into your mom and the stepchildren was originally drafted, because the mistake may have been, mistake may have occurred when that deed was drafted and not when the property conveyed. If they took the property as joint tenants with rights of survivorship, they each have a 100% indestructible right of survivorship to that property. So the division of the asset should have been whatever, 18% per person. But if they had it as tenants in common, with your mom retaining a 50% interest and each of the step siblings retaining a proportionate share of the other 50%, then they should have only received that proportionate share. So you got to take a look and see how the property was conveyed to the step siblings and see where that mistake occurred. And you may have to file a suit against the step siblings if they took more than they were allotted and refused to return it. So,
And of course, if there's a mistake, that should be fixed by whoever made the mistake if the money is not returned and completely returned. You know, I would strongly advise you to sit down with an attorney, and I think Dennis gave you a good overview of what to be questioning and to sit down and get some counsel, because it really sounds like there's a lot there. And it's not something you should be having to do on your own. So, I mean, my firm doesn't do that kind of work, but I would encourage you to sit down with a good attorney that does.
yeah, that's what we call law school exam questions.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of different issues in there that need to be worked out.
It sounded like maybe the mom and the stepchildren got it from an estate of the stepchildren's father. That's sort of what it sounds like. So we could
We'd have to determine how that deed.
Yeah.
Probably too much to unpack here on
Right.
the air, of course, but we wish you all the best, and please sit down with an attorney, not to start a trust, but to go over what has been delineated by Dennis earlier.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, Lene, thanks for calling in. Like I said, hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of going on here. It's more than you could do probably on your own, no offense, but you need somebody experienced to do that for you. So call somebody to help you out with this situation. Along the same lines though, guys, we get the questions a lot where they're like, I want to avoid probate with my kids, and I've got a house that I want to, they're going to be my heirs. Should I put their name on the deeds and do it that way, or how should I do it? Is that advantageous, or is that a bad idea?
It's a bad idea. You know, you don't want to add your kids to the deed because first you give up some control. If you ever want to sell it or refinance it, your kids are going to have to join in on that. Plus, if your kids get into any kind of trouble and they get a judgment against them, that's now on your house. But you also give your kids a potential capital gains tax. You know, when you add them to the deed, their basis is what the parent paid for it. If they would inherit the property, their basis would be market value. So then they could avoid a potential capital gains tax.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I mean, if you're late in life and you do want to avoid some probate headaches, it
Right.
may be advisable in some limited situations, but overall, generally speaking, I agree with what Juliet said.
All right, and you're not just saying that because it's her birthday, so. Tell you what, we're going to run to a break here real quick. When we get back, we'd love to talk to you. If you have any kind of real estate law questions, make sure and get them in today. We'll get them answered for you in just about 90 seconds. Give us a call here. The phone number's on your screen. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access as we're talking about real estate law here today. Get your phone calls in. Phone number is 843-848-8080. Here on the panel to answer the questions for you today is Ian McGuire from the McGuire Law Firm. Also the birthday girl, Juliet Casper. As you can see, the box is still on the desk here. We didn't break into it during the break. We didn't have enough plates and forks, or else we might sometime before the end of the show. Also, Dennis DiSabato is here with us today as well. Now, what's the biggest closing mistakes that somebody can make that, you know, people have gone through the process and try to be as smooth as possible, and then when they get to the point where they come to your office to sign the papers, you find that something's wrong? What's the biggest mistake that people make that's avoidable?
I mean, there's
so
always so many, yeah.
Don't go financing your refrigerator or your furniture and take out a credit card right before closing.
Well, yeah, people.
That's a bad thing.
If you're borrowing money and they go and they use their credit card to buy a large purchase, it'll sometimes blow up the deal right at the end of the situation.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see, and we were talking about it during the break, you'll see people using artificial intelligence to draft legal instruments for themselves. That may have some implication on the closing process, and then you realize that there's something defective about that. If you're doing something like drafting a deed or a will, you should always have it reviewed by an attorney to make sure that it is in compliance with South Carolina law. I mean, like tax compliance issues for companies that are selling properties that fail to file personal property tax returns and things like that. There's a host of things.
And we have all sorts of new things we have to try to guard against, which is the fake sellers and fraudulent folks trying to get at our trust account to get access to that money. So we have a lot more technology that our clients have to go through, which can be kind of difficult. They almost all require a smartphone.
Yeah.
And so for older clients, it can be really a challenge.
Yeah, we are utilizing knowledge-based authentication software to help make sure that the people that we're working with are actually the people who they purport to be. And you know, our firm has caught several individuals in land sales that were not who they said they were, and we were able, luckily, to stop the process before it turned into a problem. Yeah.
If you have any questions about real estate law, give us a call. Numbers on your screen. Let's go to Myrtle Beach again. Mary's on the line with us. Hi, Mary. Thanks for calling in. What's your question today?
My name has been added to my neighbor's deeded property. He's in his 80s, and his wife is no longer living, and he has no biological children. He does have family out of town. But what happens when he passes away? My name's been on that deed for over 15 years. What does that mean for me?
So Juliet mentioned a moment ago there could be a capital gains issue that's created for you when he passes away and you try and sell that property. Your basis, the step-up basis, will be based on when your name was added to that deed. So if he bought that property in, you know, the 70s or 80s, and you know, the value was much lower than it would be now, you could end up with a significant capital gains
We'd want
tax.
to, yeah, we'd want to look to see whether he added you as a joint tenant
Right.
with right of survivorship, because if that's the case, then we can avoid probate and file the death certificate for
Right.
him and the property will be yours. But if he just added you as a joint owner, we may have to do probate for his interest to convey to you.
Yeah, if he only conveyed a portion, like a percentage of the interest in the property to you, then the percentage that wasn't conveyed to you would still have to be probated.
Yep.
Now, we've still got a couple of minutes before the next break. Give us a call as we're talking about real estate law. So Mary, hopefully that answers your question for you. Inspections and surveys before closing is, well, done and closed, are they recommended? And if they are, who's responsible for it, the buyer or seller?
It's a negotiated item in the contract. So it's always recommended, unless it's a new construction. Like if it's a new build, you probably don't need an inspection, you just got a CO. But if you're buying a house that's a little bit older, I would absolutely get an inspection. Who's responsible for this inspection typically is going to be the buyer. The typical seller costs would be things like the preparation and recording of the deed stamps paid to the county government, HOA transfer fees and things of that nature, but anything can be negotiated in a contract as a buyer expense or a seller expense.
One thing that's become more common now is for some of the municipalities to require a recent survey in order to approve a fence. So we're seeing more even brand new homes that have been built getting surveys because they know they want to put a fence up for their dog.
Now, I know it's been a couple of years since they changed some rules in Columbia for South Carolina as far as revealing information about HOAs and things like that. Any more rules or anything real estate related that's going on in Columbia that you guys are aware of?
And there's always action being taken in Columbia. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to become law, unfortunately. But I don't think there's been anything newly implemented that would have any impact on people today.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything either, although Horry County is the hotbed for HOA complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever we do an HOA show, we're very aware of that with the number of people who call up that are unhappy with what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we're going to run to another break here real quick. When we get back, we'll have just under 10 minutes, so don't wait any longer. If you have any questions about real estate law, get them in now. We'll get them answered for you before the show's over. Again, about 10 minutes to go. Call us here. Phone number's on your screen. We'll get you back and get you on the air when we come back in just a minute. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. If you have any questions about real estate law, today is the day to get them answered. On the panel to answer those questions, Ian McGuire from the McGuire Law Firm, also our birthday girl, Juliet Casper, and Dennis DeSabato. So please feel free to give us a call. The number's on your screen. If you are buying a new home and you want to use that home as a Verbo or an Airbnb, but maybe it's zoned where you can't do that wherever you move into, do you have any recourse in that, or is that just something that you needed to have checked beforehand?
I would, generally speaking, you have an obligation to check beforehand, so there's not really going to be recourse. I will tell you that the majority of this county doesn't have a regulation like that, so we don't have any, short-term rental prohibitions in the county. I know some of the municipalities have. I think challenging the constitutionality of those ordinances might be an area of recourse for you, but you should know before you buy. Caveat emptor. Yeah.
And sometimes people don't realize they need to have a business license to do that
Yeah.
as well, and some of the municipalities require it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've gone through reassessments recently in the county. Is anything else coming up that homeowners need to know about along those lines?
No, we go through a reassessment period in the county every 5 years or so. So we just had one about a year ago. You're not going to probably see any sort of millage increase in this budget cycle. So I don't really think you're going to see anything increasing costs in the short term.
I know there was a time where the refinance was such a big thing. Is that still going on?
Yes, because credit card debt is really on the rise, and the interest rates on credit cards are really high. So even if you think that the mortgage rate isn't the lowest, it's a lot lower than credit cards, so we are seeing refinances.
Yeah, and you're also seeing like the interest rates are high compared to 2021, 2022, right? But they're not high compared to maybe a year ago. So people are getting out of like 8.5s and going into 6.5. So you're seeing some refinance.
Gotcha.
And not as much as when the interest rates were in the high 2s and low 3s, but it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, us older guys and women, that, you know, there was a time when you had those double digit, and it wasn't that unusual, you know. It's
My
just-
parents bought their first home at an 11%
Yeah,
interest rate.
yeah.
You know? So I don't think we'll see those again, but I also know we won't see 2s again. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
typically the market is comfortable somewhere in the low to mid 5s. And that's where a normal interest rate should be. We're not too far off from that right now.
Yeah.
If you're looking to buy a property and your new neighbor has a driveway that goes across your property, does that easement need to be in the contract that you're signing when you make a closing?
I wouldn't say it necessarily, I mean, it should be disclosed as part of the property condition disclosure statement. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the contract itself. And it's something that the settlement agent, the buyer's attorney, would have to identify in the title examination as having been recorded. If it wasn't recorded, there's a problem that needs to be addressed, a title curative issue that we need to look at. But it doesn't have to be in the contract, it does have to be disclosed.
Sometimes the easement will be shown on the recorded plat, or there might be an actual easement agreement. And what we really like to see is who's going to maintain the easement.
Right.
Sometimes that becomes an issue for a lender. They want to know who's maintaining that shared driveway or that shared road.
Speaking of plats and property lines, what's the most outrageous dispute that you've seen between neighbors as far as their property lines are concerned?
I haven't experienced a lot between neighbors. I mean, you'll find from time to time there's situations where like someone's fence line is 3.5 inches over the property line,
Yeah.
and then the neighbor wants them to remove the entire fence, and you know, there's probably an easier way and less contentious way to deal with that. I have seen situations where, especially in HOAs, where people build fences in like lake easements or maintenance easements, and that becomes a problem between the HOA and the homeowner. Those are the kinds of things we see more often.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, maybe off the air, about people trying to do these contracts. They get online, and what is the potential issues that come up with people doing that and not using attorneys? I know it's self-serving to say get an attorney, but there's a reason why we require it, right, in South Carolina, and
Yeah, you don't know where the document's coming from, whether it really is truly a South Carolina document or it's coming from New York or California or some other jurisdiction.
Or being completely made up in some
Or
cases.
co-
We were talking
correct.
about how AI hallucinates, right?
Yeah.
So put things in a contract that maybe
Yeah.
aren't even relevant. So
And we've seen that with lawyers, they're putting briefs in, and there's a case that's not, it doesn't even
doesn't
really
exist,
exist.
right.
You just
Yeah.
got to be really careful. So,
it's always, you know, South Carolina looks at real estate as the practice of law for a reason,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things that could go wrong in a real estate closing, and it's one of the reasons why we're in the highest risk pool of E&O coverage for attorneys, because there's so many moving parts that you have to be special. You have to understand the nuances of what you're doing every day and not rely on AI or a Google search
I get it.
to help you through it.
Tell you what, we're going to have to run now. Our show is over, but we appreciate you being here for real estate, as we have had that here on Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Next week, when we get back together, criminal law is going to be our topic. If you have any criminal law questions in advance, you can email us, legalaccess@wmbfnews.com, or if you have any real estate questions we weren't able to answer on the air, again, you can email us and we'll get them to you off the air. legalaccess@wmbfnews.com. Again, want to thank our panel here today for being with us. Ian McGuire from the McGuire Law Firm, also Juliet Casper, Dennis DiSabato. Thanks so much for being here today. And happy birthday again, Juliet.
Ah, thank you guys.
Take the rest of the day off.
I wish.
All right, see you again next Thursday here on Legal Access.
Have a great day.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently represented by an attorney, you should direct all legal questions to your